I'm not entirely convinced Blueprints wasn't made as a personal gift to me specifically. This exceedingly clever puzzler mixes a short list of my top game genres and concepts. First-person puzzling with a straightforward facade that hides a seemingly bottomless pit of secrets, roguelite runs that perfectly balance permanent improvements with the growth of your own skills, drafting mechanics that capitalize on the best parts of deck builders without the baggage that comes with actually being one, and even tile-based map building reminiscent of my favorite board game Carcassonne. Even if there are things in that pile of Tom stuff that don't excite you as much as they do me, the combination comes together beautifully. I'll be avoiding spoilers entirely here, so everything I'm showing is from a handful of early runs, but I'm still rapidly peeling back the layers of this onion after dozens of hours and rolling credits, and I'm already certain Blueprints has secured its place as a true puzzle great. You play as Simon, a teenage boy who's inherited the stately mansion of his well-respected and somewhat eccentric great-uncle. The catch is that he can only claim that inheritance if he can figure out how to navigate the ever-shifting halls of the estate in order to find a hidden 46th room. It's a fairly simple setup at the start, apart from the whole MC Escher shifting house thing, and while there are plenty of helpful tips scattered around for you to find, you're largely just set loose to see what you can piece together for yourself. It's a great foundation because while you don't always know what the next step might be, your overall goals are always clear enough that I almost never felt like I was just wandering around in the dark. You will probably feel like you're wandering around in circles from time to time, though. The meat of Blueprints is the drafting mechanic you use to explore the house. You start each day with a limited number of steps that are spent whenever you go through a door, and each time you open a new one, you're given 3 options for which of the mansion's many unique rooms will be on the other side. That means you're filling out the 9x5 floor plan differently every single time, connecting doorways and trying not to hit dead ends as you find helpful items and invaluable clues along the way. It may sound like nothing too outside the box, but it's a real delight to slowly gain mastery over this system. Some rooms are just simple hallways, while others play more varied roles that are split into colored categories based on type. For example, purple bedrooms often give you additional steps when entered. Yellow shops can sell helpful items if you've picked up enough coins to buy them, and red rooms have negative effects like obscuring your draft options that could throw a wrench in your plans. Certain rooms may only appear when specific conditions are met too, such as when you're drafting on the edges of the house. It was fun to figure out which should be my go-to rooms early on in order to set myself up for success later, like gathering items like keys to unlock doors or gems that can be spent to draft special rooms, and then using that prep work to make targeted dives toward a room or lead I was eager to hunt down. The actual puzzles take on a variety of different forms, but all of them are as entertaining as they are devilish to solve. Some rooms have very straightforward math or logic problems, while others require a slightly more complicated combination of button pushes or lever pulls to solve whatever that room is doing. But self-contained challenges like that are side dishes to what Blueprints truly has to offer. The most interesting stuff feels closer to some of my favorite first-person puzzle games like Return of the Obra Dinn or Outer Wilds. It asks you to really look at the world around you, take notes on what you find, and then use that knowledge to make connections where you can. And it does so in that expert way where something can feel completely cryptic at the outset and then brilliantly achievable when you finally crack it. That might mean looking through documents to find the combination to a safe, decoding why certain objects are where they are, or using the function of a specific room to get past an obstacle somewhere else. That last part can lead to the only real point of frustration I found with Blueprints, however, which is that the best laid floor plans of House Mice and Men can come crashing down with a few bad draws. Don't get me wrong, there are very real and effective ways to help mitigate the randomness of which rooms are offered to you, both in terms of learning what to prioritize and when you should or shouldn't take risks, as well as in permanent upgrades I won't spoil that can make future runs more consistent. But plain and simple, sometimes you will need a room that lets you turn left, do everything in your power to set yourself up to get it, including collecting dice that let you re-roll the rooms you draw, and still be as stuck as Zoolander when you're ultimately given your options. Those bad breaks are infrequent, but it still stings when an otherwise good run ends because you just never saw the room you were looking for. Thankfully, the pain of that randomness is mitigated by the fact that there is just so much to discover here that any given run is rarely a waste of time. You may not have been able to draft that specific combination of rooms you were after or reach that certain square you wanted to, but odds are you still entered some new rooms along the way, and doing so almost always added to the growing list of mysteries I have jotted down across a pile of handwritten notes. Beating blueprints took me about 15 hours, and getting to that 46th room is absolutely a satisfying puzzle to solve on its own. But I also have far more goals now than I did when I first set out. There are safes to open, doors to unlock, books and letters to read, clues to decipher, and loads of lore to uncover. It's impressive how all of these optional puzzles are woven into and around the path of the main one. Some are hiding in plain sight from the first minute, just waiting for you to realize they're important, while others drop an unassuming string of crumbs in your way that lead down a deep and unexpected rabbit hole when followed. The randomness of the drafting mechanic combined with your own personal sense of curiosity also mean that any two people can follow very different paths. But this fractal abode doesn't frustrate by randomly withholding things either. Clues can often be found in multiple forms or places, so once again, you're always making progress toward something. As you do get deeper, Blueprints' initially light touch story also begins to shift more directly into the spotlight. Still avoiding spoilers, discovering more about both your character's great uncle and the larger history of their family starts off as a little fun set dressing, but it eventually becomes as rich and compelling a reason to keep playing as any puzzle. The world building here is doled out with a patience I'm not used to seeing, with tons to learn about your relatives and the manor and where it's located, but none of that is ever forced down your throat. That made anything I could glean about important historical events or complex geopolitics feel like a win that would almost always help me solve future mysteries, not just some lore to read about in books or letters and then move on from. The story and its themes also smartly tie into your actions in a way few games are able to pull off so successfully. Piecing together the messy history of an extended and sometimes estranged family is rarely a linear process. Simon wanders through the house he's suddenly inherited, finding bits of information told from conflicting points of view, and often in entirely the wrong order. Trying to make all of the right connections as he goes from a boy simply solving a fun puzzle so he can win a prize, to one who understands the real reward this mansion holds, reflected my own journey with Blueprints, which is the sort of subtle brilliance you don't see in many games. Blueprints is the kind of puzzle game that dug deep into my brain and didn't let go. Its complex mysteries weave brilliantly into the careful decision-making of how to lay out the mansion's rooms on each randomized run, leaving me building floor plans in my sleep almost every night after I played it. The story that slowly emerges within this fascinating place is also a compelling one, and it had me hungrily hunting for clues and combinations for many hours after I reached the credits, while also poetically tying into the mechanics that lead you to them. Getting a bad draw you did everything in your power to avoid can frustrate from time to time, but this sprawling estate has so much to uncover that the randomness never stalled my progress for too long. If The Witness, Portal, and Myst are already emblazoned on the Mount Rushmore first-person puzzle games, I wouldn't be surprised to see Blueprints carved alongside them soon enough. So hopefully it was clear from that review, I'm a huge puzzle game fan, especially first-person puzzle games. Actually, if you go to my article version of this review on IGN.com, we have a playlist, which is my top 10 first-person puzzle games ever. If you want a better sense of my taste, you can check that out. But basically, if you're a fan of anything like The Witness, Return of Obra Dinn, Outer Wilds, all games I mentioned, but also games like Animal Well or Fez in the 2D space for puzzle games, all of these games, I think, if you enjoyed those, you're gonna really like Blueprints. If you want to hear me discuss Blueprints a little bit deeper alongside some beginner tips that I had for the game, I actually was a guest on our PlayStation podcast Beyond this week. So I'm over there with Max Scoville and Jada Griffin, who's also playing the game. And discussing it, some digging into it a little bit deeper than I could here for the video review. And then generally, if you want to check out reviews for some of the best reviewed, this is now one of the best reviewed overall games of 2025. And if you want to see some of the other big heavy hitters this year, we have reviews of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, as well as Split Fiction, Assassin's Creed Shadows. So you can find all of those right here on IGN.